Hello everyone. My name is Elise. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing so good today. We are going to be doing an anticipated releases video. I love doing these videos because I'm so excited about these books and I get to talk about them all over again and get extra excited. Hopefully you get excited and then we can read them together and it's a perfect storm of excitement. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the books. I think there are 15 books here, maybe 16 because I think one got pushed to later in the year. So 15 or 16 books. I'm going to be talking about them in the order that they get published. I do these every third of the year. So I have videos for the first 4 months of the year, the second 4 months, and these are going to be covering books that are getting published from the start of September to the end of December for 2023. And yeah, I'll go ahead and start getting into the books. If I accidentally get them out of publication order a little bit, my apologies. I'm going to try the best I can, but who knows? There's lots of dates and numbers going on here. So let's start with the books published in September. So starting on September 5th, we have I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. This is getting published by Grey Wolf Press in the US. This has already been published in the UK, of course. It was longlisted for the Women's Prize this year and getting a lot of buzz. It's the book from the Women's Prize that I am most excited to read and definitely wanted to get my hands on when everyone was talking about it, but it hadn't been published in the US yet. So I was waiting for it to come out and now it's finally going to be here from Grey Wolf. I do like the UK cover a little bit better. So I'm actually, because Grey Wolf is a big enough independent publisher, I can get this as an audiobook from my library. So that's how I'm going to consume it. And then if I really like it, I will order the UK version. But this is about a woman who is basically stalking another woman who she becomes very obsessed with through social media because the man that she is currently in love with and having a relationship with is also having a relationship with this woman. I think all of the characters are unnamed, and yeah, it's a story about the internet, it's a story about obsession and lust and desire, and I think that sounds amazing, and I very much want to read it. So looking forward to I'm a Fan coming out on September 5th. So on September 12th, we have a couple of releases that I'm excited about. The first one being The Devil of the Provinces. This is by Juan Cardenas and it's translated by Lizzie Davis. It's coming out from Coffee House Press. I already have this pre-ordered, so I have the Coffee House Press subscription for this time period, and it originally included this and one other book, but they got pushed back. So they gave us a voucher and then I just pre-ordered them because I was very interested. This is one of them. And it is about a man who goes back to his hometown in Colombia, suddenly starts getting roped into the murder of his brother that happened previously. It is a crime novel, I believe, and he ends up getting involved in like a conspiracy with a job offer that he gets, and it kind of goes sideways from there. I think this sounds very interesting. It says in this novel, nothing is as it seems. So it sounds great. I'm very much looking forward to it. That is The Devil of the Provinces. Okay, also on September 12th, we have Peach Pit, which is a short story collection that's edited by Molly Llewellyn and Crystal Buckley. I'm looking at my laptop down here if you see me looking down. This one is 16 Stories of Unsavory Women, and that subtitle really sold me, and the cover. I fucking love this cover. I think it's one of the best covers of the year. I'm so obsessed with it. So this one I think is, yeah, following unsavory women. So it says you see women at their most monstrous: con artists, murderers, cutthroats, scalpers, ruled by ambition and grief and spite. And I think it sounds fantastic. I love a great anthology, and this has some heavy hitting authors in it. Just Lauren Groff off the top of my head. So yeah, can't wait to read this, and also comes out on September 12th. This is getting published by Zank Books. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that publisher. Zank Books, it's DZANC Books. So there we go. Peach Pit. All right, on September 19th, we have another Coffee House Press book that I have pre-ordered. This is the other one. And this is We're Safe When We're Alone by Tran, Nghiem. This is about a father and a son in which the father is trying to almost like brainwash the son, saying like the son is a human in a mythical world of ghosts, and basically trying to like misrepresent the things around him. The son has lived his entire life in a mansion. So when father decides that it's time for son to venture outside, son basically decides that he wants to please his father despite him being afraid of going out into the world that's full of ghosts. And yeah, he starts to contend with questions that he's always had about life and trying to get answers about what horrors lie in the outside world. I think this sounds so fascinating. It's like very much coming of age, but I think with a dark twist on it. And I think it sounds very intriguing. So can't wait for this to come out. And that is We're Safe When We're Alone. Next up, we have a couple of releases that are coming out on September 26th. The first one of these is Electric. I spoke about this in my mid-year freakout tag. It is the next anthology series coming out from Two Lions Press in their Calico series. And this is a collection of Caribbean authors, Caribbean women, I should say specifically. There are 8 Caribbean women in this anthology, and this is a combination of poetry and prose, and it's talking about the complex nature of Caribbean existence. So, for example, it has one about a single mother who has an intimate encounter with a migrant worker. There's one about a teenager who discovers her sexuality in the shadow of her twin sister. Oh, that sounds dark. And then there's a poet who summons a chorus of sirens. So yeah, I love the Calico series. I'm basically a sucker for them, so I will pretty much always get them, but this one sounds fantastic. I also love the cover. So that is Electric. This is by, of course, a number of different authors. So yeah, that is Electric. Next up on September 26th, we have My Work. This is by Olga Ravn, and I read The Employees by Olga Ravn earlier this year and really enjoyed it. It was very interesting. And this is also getting published by New Directions as her previous work was. It's translated into English by Sophia, Hersi Smith, and Jennifer Russell. And this is translated from the Danish. This one is about motherhood, which I think is very fascinating because that's, I mean, in some ways similar to The Employees and in some ways very different. But it says, after giving birth, Anna is utterly lost. She and her family move to the unfamiliar snowy city of Stockholm. Anxiety threatens to completely engulf Anna, who obsessively devours online news and compulsively orders clothes she can't afford. To avoid sinking deeper into her depression, she forces herself to read and write. And we are sort of getting the collection of her writing, I believe. So this sounds great. I loved The Employees, so I'm excited to get this novel from Olga Ravn about motherhood. So that is My Work. Next, we have on September 26th as well, Marshland by Otohiko Kaga, and it's translated by Albert Novick. And this is supposed to be like an epic Tolstoyan tale. It's, I think, over 900 pages, and it's getting published by Dalkey Archive, which is in the family that Deep Vellum is also in, the publishing family. It takes place in the pre-World War II period in Japan, and it follows Atsuyo, who is an auto mechanic and living a very quiet life in Tokyo. His coworkers know that he has sort of like a military history, a military past, but they don't quite know what it is. And it turns out that he has a criminal past around the military. He joins his nephew to go to this protest that's happening at the time. And when they're there, he meets a woman, and him and this woman end up getting entangled in this lethal bombing of a Tokyo train. They basically get framed for it because he has a criminal record. So that's where the story takes off and we follow them from there. Again, it's very long, so I'm assuming this is going to be pretty all-encompassing, but who knows? I'm not sure if it's going to be more of a character study or yeah, like a windy, twisty, plotty tale, or maybe a little bit of both. But it sounds fascinating. I've heard good reviews thus far. Definitely looking forward to this one. So that is also coming out September 26th, and that is Marshland. All right, moving into October, there are a couple releases that I'm interested in that are coming out on October 17th. The first of which being The Hunger of Women. This is by Marosia Castaldi. Marosia Castaldi, I think that's how you say it. And it's translated by Jamie Richards. It's getting published by And Other Stories. This one follows Rosa, who is kind of midway through life, and her daughter has just left the house. Her husband passed away long ago, and she decides that she is going to move. She moves out into the countryside from the city, and she decides that she wants to open a restaurant. So she opens a restaurant, is trying to come into her own while she is sort of entering this new era of her life, and she starts to form friendships with women, and I think it has a lot to do with friendship in adulthood, which I'm very interested in. And then I think she also is attempting to fall in love, and there might be some of that as well. So yeah, this sounds amazing. I love reading things about female friendship. I also feel like we don't get a lot of experiences around older women trying to seek out friendship, because it's very different finding friendship in adulthood than it is when you're younger. So yeah, very much looking forward to The Hunger of Women coming out on October 17th. The other release that is coming out on October 17th that I am looking forward to is Hazardous Spirits. This is by Anbara Salam, and it's getting published by Tin House Books. This follows a woman and her husband in 1920s Edinburgh, Scotland, and she's middle class, she's a housewife. Basically, they have a very expected life. And then one day, everything is upended because her husband tells her that he can talk to the dead. Now, this is amongst the big spiritualist movement that was happening at the time, kind of across the globe in many ways. And they start getting wrapped up into this spiritualist movement. She starts to get increasingly worried that secrets from her past are going to come out that she hasn't ever shared with anyone. She also is trying to suss out this question of whether or not her husband is a fraud. I think that sounds so fascinating. I think, yeah, it's a really interesting take on historical fiction. I like this idea of not being able to trust her husband, and also going from this very quiet, accepted life into something that is very tumultuous. So yeah, that is Hazardous Spirits, coming out on October 17th. Another book coming out in October, but I'm not sure the date, so it just says October, is Confessions, and this is coming out from Charco Press. It's by Martin Cohen, and it's translated by Daniel Hahn. Charco Press does this where typically they'll say the month that something is getting released in, but not give you the exact date until much closer. Don't have the exact date for now. And this book, I believe, follows two narrators. At least it seems like it is going to from the blurb. So in the beginning, you're focused on a young girl named Myrta, and she is very confused about the world of men. And one day she is seeing this boy pass by, and they end up meeting. Then I think you flash forward to the boy's perspective many years later, and he is a leader in the military, and he is being pursued, or like they're trying to overthrow the regime that he is under. But yeah, I think this says it spans a very long amount of time. It's supposed to cast a wide net of 20th century Argentina, which I don't know a ton about the history and would like to learn more. And I think it is supposed to be centered around this one woman and sort of being like a really strong female character who is very complicated, and that sounds intriguing to me. So it says that it follows a legacy of love and guilt playing out in one family against the background of a dictatorship's traumas. Sign me up, it sounds great. That is Confession, coming out in October. Okay, and the last October release that I have on my list is Death Valley. I also spoke about this one in my mid-year freakout tag. This comes out on October 24th, and it is by Melissa Broder. It's coming out from Scribner, and the plot sounds so fascinating. I know I enjoy her writing because I have read Milkfed, and I'm currently reading The Pisces and enjoying that as well. And this is about a woman who flees to California and ends up at a Best Western in the middle of the California desert. And she is trying to process through grief. Her father is in the ICU and her husband is becoming increasingly ill himself. She ends up talking to the receptionist at the hotel, and the receptionist tells her about this hike in the area. So she goes on this hike and sees this cactus. There's a cactus on the cover, and the type of cactus that it is, I guess she knows that it shouldn't be there. And there's a giant gash in the cactus that seems like a door, wink wink, and she ends up walking through it and entering a mystical land. So I think it's sort of like got an adventure novel aspect to it. It says that this is Melissa Broder at her most imaginative, universal, and finest. So that is Death Valley. I'm very much intrigued by that premise. It sounds like a grown-up angsty Narnia, and I'm here for it. That is Death Valley. Okay, and going into November, we have on November 7th, yes, November 7th, TheVulnerables by Sigrid Nunez. I have not read from this author before, but famously they wrote The Friend, and that novel also sounds intriguing to me. This one is about it might be an unnamed narrator, I think, but it follows a solitary female narrator who is a member of Gen Z, and a spirited parrot named Eureka, hence the parrot on the cover. And this says, TheVulnerables reveals what happens when strangers are willing to open their hearts to each other, and how far even small acts of caring can go to ease another's distress. That sentence alone is what got me into this book. I am a sucker for that, and I know Sigrid Nunez does this thing where they sort of talk about the caring innate nature that can be present for humans, and like how heartbreak sort of connects us to being alive. I think they definitely play on those themes, and very interested to see how this plays out. But yeah, that is TheVulnerables. And next up on November 14th, we have American Protectorate, subtitle Parables of Exclusion. And this is a collection of essays that's edited by a collective of incarcerated writers. And there's lots of editors named here, as well as lots of authors for the essays themselves. Some of the authors for the essays include Kiese Lehman, Lacey M. Johnson, Valeria Luiselli, and more. And the first line of the book, I think, speaks to why they're coming out with this essay collection. It says, "This is a volume edited by the imprisoned because the history of class has always been written by the powerful." Love that. And it says it's a groundbreaking anthology of essays edited by incarcerated writers that takes a sharp look at the complexity and fluidity of class and caste systems in the United States. I don't need to read more. It sounds so amazing. So yeah, American Protectorate, coming out on November 17th. Highly anticipating that one. And then the last book that we have here is a book that got pushed back in publications. It was in my previous video, but it is now getting published on November 14th as well. And this is Natural Causes. This is the 2023 release that I am waiting for to do my open letter publisher taste test. So I'm going to try and do that in November. I'm going to start reading the other books for that video first, and then hope that this one comes in time before the end of the month. So that's the plan for now. But this one, it says, is a novel about the curse of self-knowledge and the blessings of denial, which I already think sound fascinating. And then, yeah, there's also a medical romance like no other in it. I think it's romance is a loose word, I think, in this one. This says that for 2 decades, Ellen has been a regular general practitioner for at least as long as she's been married to Axel. But before Axel, there was Bjorn, who a year ago suddenly reached out to her on Facebook, who has since turned Ellen's world upside down. I think she starts an affair with him, and things go sideways from there. But yeah, I like this push and pull between kind of like ignorance and knowledge, and I think it's going to be fascinating. Very much looking forward to it. And I should say, I don't know if I said who the author was. The author is Nina Lykke, and yeah, I can't wait to get to this one. So that is Natural Causes, and that completes the books that I am highly anticipating for the rest of 2023. Let me know if you're interested in any of these, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.